Welcome again to the old principal 老校长的节目. I am the old principal, and we have another interesting lesson. It's a little bit of a window, 是一种窗户看到 what life was like for me many years ago. Okay? Today's lesson is lesson 207, My Friend Phil, 我的朋友 Phil. And so before we begin, and I tell you about my friend Phil, I will let you listen as my wife reads to you the story.
Story 207, My Friend Phil. During my 8th and 9th grade years, I attended Corvallis Senior High School because at that time there was no junior high school. It was during those 2 years that I made friends with Phil Griffin. He was short like me, but not so quiet. His dad was a doctor. In Mr. Hall's English class, Phil sometimes openly called Mr. Hall by his first name. Of course, that was very impolite. An irritated Mr. Hall would subsequently motion for Phil to follow him out of the classroom into the hallway. At those times, Mr. Hall was very grave, but Phil walked to the door smiling, obviously basking in the attention of the rest of the class. I didn't know what happened out in the hallway, but after a few minutes our teacher returned to the classroom, and a little later Phil came back, always with a smile on his face. We all liked Mr. Hall. He was short and funny and made English quite interesting. But we also admired Phil for his daring impertinence. It seemed to me like a wonderfully interesting game. So one day I tried it. When the teacher called on me to recite, I responded to him as Roland instead of Mr. Hall. Immediately I realized something had gone wrong. He pointed his finger at me and said, "I want to talk to you." I found out that these meetings with Mr. Hall in the hallway were no party. He gave me such a severe reprimand that my tears began to flow. I never figured out how Phil went to these sessions smiling and came back smiling. For sure, I wasn't smiling. After Mr. Hall finished with me, he returned to the classroom to teach, and I went to the bathroom to dry the tears and calm my ruffled feelings. After a while, I returned to the class very subdued and determined that I would never be impolite again.
Okay, welcome back. Here we are, and you will have perhaps some questions about, there's some parts of this story that I just can't quite figure out. Don't worry, we're going to go through this story sentence by sentence. And here's the way it begins. During my 8th and 9th grade years, I attended Corvallis Senior High School because at that time there was no junior high school. Actually, my father explained to me, he said that there was a junior high school, okay, 初中, okay, 初中 and 高中. Now, I attended the 高中even though I was 8th and 9th grade. Why? Because apparently before my time, it had burned down, 这个着火了 and burned down. So the school, the junior high school, we say 初中学, okay, had burned up. So now everybody had to meet at Corvallis Senior High. During my 8th and 9th grade years, I attended Corvallis Senior High School. Corvallis 是我的地名，我的城市的名字 Corvallis, Oregon, 美国西北方的 Senior High School, 高中学, okay? At that time, there was no junior high, 没有初中学. Okay, so we all the students, 初中, 高中, we were all in the same school. It was during those 2 years that I made friends with Phil Giffen. Sometimes we say Griffin, sometimes Giffen, Phil Griffin. Anyway, I made friends with Phil. Phil was a very nice young man. And he became my friend, although not real close. You know, come to think about it, I don't ever recall going to his house. His dad was a doctor, but I don't recall if I ever went there. I don't think I went to visit him, but somehow we enjoyed each other. Phil was not too tall. He was short. 他也是相当矮，像我一样, okay? He was short like me, but not so quiet. 不像我那么害羞，那么安静. He was not, N-O-T, not. Okay? His dad was a doctor. 他爸爸是医生啊，所以他们生活上的条件应该还好 going on. In Mr. Hall's English class, Phil sometimes openly called Mr. Hall by his first name. Okay. Now, let's stop here for a minute. In America, you have first name. My first name is Chen Ming is John. And then you have some people use their middle name. My middle name is William. But Ash Xing it's a little bit more special. You don't use it directly. So you'll notice that in Mr. Hall's English class, now Mr. Hall, he was a short man and very interesting. I will explain a little bit more about that. 他是教英文课, and I learned more about English from Mr. Hall than any other time. I especially learned about English grammar. Now, nowadays, 现代的年轻人，他们对这个文法，这个英文的这个文法，they don't really understand it. But in those days, we studied grammar. Now, Mr. Hall's English class sometimes feel openly 公开的 okay, called Mr. Hall by his first name, 叫 Mr. Hall, Hall 老师用他的全名. Now, trust me, any child knew that was very impolite. Impolite, 非常不礼貌. Impolite, 不礼貌. Okay? So we knew that it was wrong. So now, how did Mr. Hall respond? An irritated, 有一点怒气的 Mr. Hall, he was not happy, obviously, would subsequently mean after he got called by this name, he would motion motion to Phil. Now, 有手动作 motion. Okay. Now later in the story, we will hear 指着他 or 指着我. But to motion is he motioned toward Phil to follow him out of the classroom. In Chinese, we would say, follow me, follow me. But by the way, in America, we don't use that. In America, we say, follow me, okay? But in China, we say like this. That means, come here, follow me. Follow him out into the hallway. 要走到那个走廊. Go ahead. At those times, Mr. Hall was very grave. Grave, 很严肃. Oh, by the way, grave has another meaning, 愤怒. But grave can be used as a 形容词. And if a person is very grave, 形容他是非常严肃. He isn't smiling. There's no smile. Okay? At those times, Mr. Hall was very grave. Phil walked to the door, smiling. Always thought, now that's strange. Mr. Hall is very, 看起来是有一点凶啊. But Phil was, walking to the, and of course all of the students are watching, right? We're all watching Phil and Mr. Hall. And so he's smiling, Phil is smiling, Mr. Hall is very grave. Obviously, he was basking in the attention of the rest of the class. Okay? 受到其他的我们那班的人的注意. We were all focusing our attention, 把我们的精神集中在于他了. Okay? He was basking. To bask, what does it mean to bask? When you say basking in the sunlight, that means 太阳照在你的身上. You are enjoying the sunlight. To basking in the attention is to enjoy the attention of the other students. So everybody was paying attention, and Phil was saying, and he was smiling, and he was going out. I didn't know what happened out in the hallway. I didn't know. Phil never told me. Never, as far as I know, never told anybody what was happening out in the hallway. 在走廊发生什么事，我们都不知道. Okay? But after a few minutes, 过几分钟, after a few minutes, our teacher returned. So Mr. Hall returned. Mr. Hall, our teacher, our English teacher, he returned to the classroom by himself. 单独, coming, just one person. And a little later, 过几分钟, Phil came back, always with a smile on his face. Okay? When he came back with a smile on his face. He was smiling. He left the room with a smile. He came back with a smile. And we all noticed this. We all noticed this. 我们都注意到. Okay? 他脸上都有一个笑容啊. We all like Mr. Hall. He was short and funny. Yeah. 他又矮呀，又幽默。Okay, 幽默 very funny. He often, we all enjoyed his class. He made English so interesting. I mean, who wants to study English? English is boring, okay? But he made it so interesting. So, and he was funny. 常常开玩笑等等. But we learned. I learned a lesson from that. Oh, this is my little philosophy about teaching. Happy students learn better. So I like for my students to always be happy. If they're happy and enjoying and smiling and so on, then they learn much better. Okay, so much for the philosophy. Okay, we all like Mr. Hall. He was short and funny and made English 相当有兴趣的。我们都有兴趣。But we also admired. Oh, we admired. So, well, you could say 佩服Phil for his daring impertinence. Now, impertinence is a word that we don't usually use, and so I thought maybe I better check out what the dictionary said. Okay, daring, 大胆. Okay, 大胆. Okay, we got that one. But impertinence, 放肆, 不礼貌. He is 太离谱，真的是很离谱。Okay, but 很大胆的。Going on, it seemed to me like a wonderfully interesting game. 对我来说 I thought it was a game. 是一种游戏。And I thought, whoa, that's interesting. And in my childish, remember this is the 8th and 9th grade years, in my childish mind, I'm thinking, yeah, I ought to try that. It was a game. It seemed very wonderful, very interesting. Go ahead. So one day I tried it. I did. I tried it. When the teacher called me to recite, 要背诵，我不晓得背诵什么东西啊。Anyway, he called on me to recite. I responded, 我就回答 him, and I used his first name, Roland. His name was Roland Hall. And so I didn't call him, yes, Mr. Hall. I said, yes, Roland, I will do that. Boing, Roland. Suddenly, 我看他的脸色就变了。Uh-oh, now I was in trouble. Going on. Immediately I realized that something had gone wrong. 有出了事情. Well, of course, I could see that his face, by his face and his actions, that I had just made a mistake. He pointed his finger at me and said, I want to talk to you. Whoa, things were not so happy now. I was suddenly, my heart is going, well, what happens to your heart when you get into trouble? Bung bung tiao. And my heart is beating fast, and your brain is going around in sort of 乱想. You don't even know what you're thinking. So this is a very serious moment. When I went out, I found out that these meetings with Mr. Hall in the hallway were no party. No party here is 不好玩. Okay, I found that these meetings with Mr. Hall in the hallway meetings, that means to meet with him, to talk with him out in the he gave me such a severe 谴责 reprimand. 修理我一顿 I don't know, maybe 谴责 maybe it's better. He severe 很严肃的很严格的 reprimand that my tears began to flow. Okay, so I wasn't used to that. I was definitely not used to that. And to have my favorite teacher speak like that, I mean, he was really my favorite teacher. No other teacher did I enjoy so much. And so I felt so bad. The tears began to come down my face. 他们就开始流下来，我的眼泪。Go ahead. I never figured out how Phil went out to these sessions smiling and came back smiling. For sure, I wasn't smiling. I didn't go out smiling. I didn't come back smiling. 从来没有 figured out 想通啊 ，OK？ 从来没有想通 Phil 怎么去 to go out in these sessions, to go out and talk with Mr. Hall out there in the hallway. How was it that he could always go out smiling and he always came back smiling? Like I said, I never went out smiling and I never came back smiling either. So I think I learned a very important lesson. Maybe. Let's go on here. Okay, after Mr. Hall finished with me, that is, after he came back into the classroom, he returned to the classroom to teach, of course, because the rest of the students were in there, including Phil, who was probably smiling. And I went to the bathroom. Where did I go? I went to the 洗手间, okay, the bathroom, to dry my tears, to 擦干我的眼泪, and to calm my ruffled feelings. Now let me explain that. Okay, to calm, okay, to calm down 是要平静下来, okay. My ruffled. Now, normally, if you ruffle your hair, you know, you ruffle your hair and it sticks out like this, you know, better not do that too often, right? Your hair is ruffled, it's messed up. Well, sometimes when your feelings, 你的情感, 你的感情, 你的情绪 gets ruffled, 就变成很乱. So, what happens? You go to the bathroom and you wipe your tears and you calm your ruffled feelings. It's like your ruffled feathers, you know, you need to get like a bird, you know, it has ruffled feathers, the messed up feathers, and so he gets his hair all fixed up again. Oh, going on. After a while, I returned to the class very subdued. See the word sub means under. When you are subdued, 安静下来了. Subdued. I wasn't smiling. I was very quiet. 非常平静. And I determined. That means I decided that I would never be impolite again. I decided that I would never ever 做那些不礼貌的事, be impolite again. So, probably this is not an issue. Well, maybe it is. I mean, 现代的年轻人都不一样. The young people of today are quite different than the young people in my era. I did it once and never did it again. And so, I suppose the important thing to keep in mind is that we should be very polite, especially when talking to our elders, to those who are older than us, especially our teachers. Be very polite. 要保持非常礼貌的态度. Okay, let's take a look here at our email address, theoldprinciple@gmail.com, and our website, www.theoldprinciple.org. I am the old principal. 我是老校长。祝你过一个很好的一天. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.